By the way, the earth don't move. The earth don't rotate. Everything in the sky rotates around the earth. Okay, and people don't understand what flat earth is or why it's important. I'm telling you because as a Christian, you should know what God's creation looks like. And if you go to the Bible, over 5 times it says very clearly, this ain't the word of Bryce, this is the word of God, the earth shall not be moved.
Hey folks, how's it going? Curious UK here. So there's something here I hear from flat earthers on quite regular occasion, and it comes down to the fact that a lot of flat earthers don't believe in the rotation of the earth because they don't think they can feel it. Now I think what it comes down to is flat earthers don't realize, I haven't done the research, of what the human body is capable of feeling when it comes to motion. In reality, what it is that our bodies aren't really adapted to feeling consistent motion or movement. We feel acceleration and deceleration, and that's where our inner ear and everything is designed and through evolution that we evolved to be able to sense. So if you're on like a plane that's flying 500 plus miles per hour through the air, you can walk up and down the aisle and sit there quite comfortably, and you wouldn't be able to feel that constant motion of the 500 miles per hour on a nice smooth flight. Now if you have turbulence, in which you maybe accelerating up and down, and there's and it's be a bumpy ride, you're feeling those bumps up and down because you're accelerating up or down and you're dropping down. You'll feel that. It's because you feel the acceleration. Same with like in a vehicle. If you're driving or in a bus, a very consistent rate, eyes closed, you wouldn't know if you're going 40 miles an hour or 70 miles an hour or 110 miles per hour, especially on a nice smooth road with no bends, a nice straight road. You wouldn't know how fast you're going or if you're moving at all. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a vehicle, if the bus is sitting there, a vehicle is idling, or if the vehicle is traveling. If it's a nice smooth road with no turns, no bumps, and it's a fairly good vehicle. This flat earthers don't understand. Now, using the concepts used in this science, magicians have been able to utilize this phenomenon, the fact that the human body is not very good at detecting constant motion and very slow motion. Under a certain amount, we just can't detect it, to pull off some of their fantastic magic tricks. Now, one example is David Copperfield back in 1983, where he made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Now, how did he do that? Well, he had his live audience. He had 2 pillars set up like this, where he was looking at them, looking at the Statue of Liberty. And then he put a curtain up, and I'll show you a video here. And then he moved the whole stage very slowly over a minute and a half, and had some music, so they couldn't hear the rumbling or the mechanics of the stage. And all I did is made it move 5 degrees. I say the camera there, Statue of Liberty, and like this, and he moved very slowly, like that. Lift the curtain, Statue of Liberty has disappeared. Holy crap! David Copperfield is magic. Curtain up, very slowly, moved it back. Curtain up, Statue of Liberty standing there again. Nobody could sense that. Nobody knew how he done it. All live studio audience couldn't figure it out. But because the motion was so little and so slow, their bodies couldn't detect it. Now, can we measure the motion of the earth and rotation using different instrumentation, which is much more sensitive, or different methods that are much more sensitive to motion than our bodies? Yes, we can. And there's several different ways of doing that, and I'll show that here. So let's get started here. I'll show you David Copperfield's, actually I'll show you some of the flat earth claims, and then I'll show you David Copperfield's magic trick he did in 1983, and then I'll show you a few examples of how we can actually measure the rotation of the earth.
So you mean to tell me that Earth is rotating at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and yet we can't feel any of that? But look at those trees. You see that? But yet I can feel the gentle breeze of these trees to cool me down on a hot day. I don't know. Think about it.
Just quickly touching on that video there, when he's talking about gentle breeze. Now, this is something obviously flat earthers don't quite understand and can't comprehend. A lot of times, the jet streams are affected by the Coriolis, which is due to the curvature, the rotation of the Earth. Where the jet streams, they are coming from the Arctic regions, north and south. Don't have a globe with me right now. And as you come from the cooler regions that go into the warmer regions, come towards that, they are affected by the rotation of the Earth, and that's where you have the jet streams will start to diverge, and they will start to go. One will go kind of towards the east, and the southern part goes towards the west. Right, that's down to the Coriolis effect, which is down to the rotation of the Earth. Now, as for his gentle breeze, this is something that I've explained to a few flat earthers, and I don't know if they refuse to understand or can't comprehend it. Winds are caused by high and low pressure centers in the atmosphere. So if you have a high pressure center, then a low pressure center, and you have a low pressure center next to it, the air will move from one pressure center to the other, causing you winds and causing you breezes. So that is why he's having a wind. It's independent of the rotation of the Earth, because the whole atmosphere itself is moving with the Earth. The Earth's ground and the atmosphere moves together as one unit, and this is down to friction, cohesion, and other physics forces acting upon it. The Earth's rotating for a very, very, very long time, and because of that, the atmosphere moves along with it. Winds and stuff and thermal events like that are independent. It can happen within the rotation of the atmosphere. Think of like a pool, and you have a pool moving around, and maybe you have jets which is causing a bit of the pool. All the water is moving very slowly around in the pool. But yeah, you can cause different eddies and different events. You can cause different low pressure. You can push your hand down and cause different flows within that flow to go any way you want. That's what's happening. It's not that difficult. This is a very well understood and explained phenomenon. I believe this is taught in elementary to maybe junior high school. So maybe flat earthers need to pay better attention in school, instead of just sitting in the back throwing spitballs at the ceiling. Okay, so let's get on to the video in which I'll show David Copperfield's magic trick he did, or illusion he did, back in 1983. And after that, we'll look at a few other things.
The Statue of Liberty, standing 305 feet high and weighing 450,000 pounds. And that was going to make her disappear. We constructed 2 scaffolding towers on Liberty Island in front of the statue, and had a helicopter to give an aerial view of the illusion. The audience on Liberty Island was seated here, 200 feet in front of the statue. A circle of lights surrounds the statue and shines upon it. A curtain would be raised between the towers to hide the statue from view. If I successfully vanished the statue, searchlights would pass through the empty space that was occupied just moments before. We even had radar to show the statue's position. In front of a live audience on Liberty Island, the disappearance of the Statue of Liberty. There's that jacket again. Right about now, I'm thinking, I hope this works.
The entire thing, it just disappeared. What happened, what it done to it, I have no idea.
No idea
but
what
it was fascinating to watch it.
I tell you, if I was home watching on TV, I would be a little skeptical, but I was here and it was there, and now it's not there. I don't know what happened to it. Fantastic.
When that curtain went down and there was nothing there, I just couldn't believe it.
Your reaction?
I was amazed. I don't see it. It's there and it's not there anymore.
I have never seen a Statue of Liberty disappear the way this one did.
And as the audience watched, I brought her back.
Wow, that's just amazing. David Copperfield, he stunned people back in the 80s and 90s. I watched a few of those things as a kid. He did some stage stuff, and it looked really cool and interesting. Now, some of the stuff there, if you watch it now, we look back now, that was 1983, you can kind of see what he did there, a little bit of production, a little bit of razzle-dazzle for the cameras as well. Those ring of lights, well, that's quite easy. He had a second ring of lights set up. That was in about the same shape as we had around the Statue of Liberty. Not that difficult. As for the helicopter, well, like I said, you moved the stage 5 degrees. If you notice that curtain when it went up, it was covering where the helicopter was. The helicopter simply just moved along with the stage. Not a big deal. A little bit of rehearsal, easily done. The lights, obviously, same set lights, laser beams, stuff like that. Right? The little radar thing, well, obviously that was just a little, little thing for the cameras. Audience couldn't see it. He's, a little bit of a showmanship. That's, look at that, so, it is what it is, right? It was a big stage, a big show. But the fact is, I was going down, you couldn't see the Statue of Liberty anymore. It was behind one of those pillars on the side. And that's why all the theatrics and stuff was part of that. And with magic shows and stuff, it's all sleight of hand, distraction. This way, look at my right hand while I hide something with the left hand, right? Most people know that, at least everybody that's an adult. The big thing I want to have with this, when I bring it up, is the fact that whole stage moved and nobody could feel it. Nobody knew it. Nobody could feel the motion. You also notice all the bright lights. It was so that if there's any stars in the sky, because the lights are so bright, your eyes aren't able to, the stars aren't bright enough. They always bright on a moonless night. So all you have is the stars, but then you can't see the stars because you've got so many bright lights around you. Your eyes, your pupil can't open up wide enough to be able to resolve the light of the stars being so small and faint, right? It's part of why having all those bright lights and everything around is to cover that up, so that way people can't look and see that the stars may have star patterns being moved off to one side and you can get onto that, right? It's all you think about it. They put a lot of thought into this to make it so that you get the illusion. But needless to say, and to digress, the movement of the stage was never felt by a single person on there. Only I don't even think David Copperfield and any of the production staff could feel it. They knew it was happening because it's their stage show. But the people who were on there, who were the audience that were interviewed, had not a clue that the fact is the Statue of Liberty didn't disappear. They simply just were no longer looking at it. Now, onto my thing where I can show a few different experiments. Some are very old, but they show the movement of the Earth. Now, there's a few different things. One, as some people might know, there was a documentary done on Netflix called Beyond the Curve, and they had some flat earthers on there. One being the now passed along Bob Nodell, and he used a ring laser gyroscope that's used in modern navigation systems, like on planes and in on cruise on ships and stuff. And using that, he was able to detect the rotation of the Earth, which is 15 degrees per hour. It's rather famous little clips in which he showed that. And then when he found that out the first time, as he said, flat earthers, being what they are, the evidence that they don't like it doesn't conform to their narrative and their preconceived notions of how the Earth should be. He tried to falsify it. He tried to figure out a way to make it fit his narrative and push it. And it didn't work. At least he didn't show the results. Some people claim he put it on top of a mountain and got different results, but those results have never been shown. None of the data has come to light. It's been many, many years since Bob has passed away, and those results, there's been claims, and no evidence ever shown. The evidence that was shown was when he first turned it on. He emitted 15 degrees per hour drift, put it inside that chamber, and still was detecting the drift. But as we have other things, mechanical gyroscopes. There's a fellow named Jesse. I'll show you a video here. He's done it several times. He had 3 different gyroscopes, mechanical gyroscopes that are powered using vacuum out of airplanes. All detected 15 degrees per hour drift, as well as the Foucault's pendulum, which was derived in the 1800s, and it's in different museums or different universities around the world. And when they're everything's operating and an experiment is operating as it should be, where everything's able to move freely, then they detect the motion of the Earth, and also depending on where you are in your lines of latitude, they can tell you where you are on the Earth, because depending where you are, the closer you are to the poles, the faster you'll have the pendulum will do a full rotation around. The closer you are to the equator, it will take longer for it to do a full cycle around. And that has to do with the rotation of the Earth. So we'll have a look at that as well. These are a few different ways of being able to measure the rotation of the Earth. Let's have a look and see. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start off with is a short clip of Bob Nodell, and it's a clip from the documentary Beyond the Curve, in which he describes his experiment and describes the results that they had.
We've carried out an experiment to test the rotation to the Earth. If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift. Now, obviously we were taken aback by that. Wow, that's kind of a problem, right? We obviously were not willing to accept that, and so we started looking for ways to disprove that it was actually registering the motion of the Earth, and that it in fact was registering the motion of the sky. So the next thing that we set out to do was to encase the fiber optic gyro in what's called a zero Gauss chamber to see if we could actually shield the energies being generated by the heaven. And we were unsuccessful with that, unfortunately.
Wow, there you are. So even a flat earther proved the rotation of the Earth using a modern day gyroscope, a ring laser gyroscope. But a lot of flat earthers don't want to accept that, and they think that maybe there's some sort of mini computer in there, or they have other issues. A lot of them want to see a physical gyroscope. Don't worry, I got you covered. YouTube channel called Just Jesse. He's done this a few times. Now there's other ones that have done this as well. He's not the only one. But he's using some physical old gyroscopes. They're a bit worn out, but they still kind of do the trick. And I'll show you the very beginning of his video he did. It's about a 40-minute video. I'm not going to show you the whole one. I'm going to show you the beginning, in which he explains in very great detail on how he's able to measure the rotation of the Earth using mechanical gyroscopes that use a vacuum to keep the gyroscope running at a constant speed. Let's have a look and see his results.
Video, I would like to show you how an old airplane gyroscope shows the rotation of the Earth. This is a vintage air-powered purely mechanical heading indicator gyroscope, also known as a gyro compass, but I'm going to try to call it a heading indicator gyroscope. I've got it set up so it's pointing at the North Star so that it will measure the full rotational rate of the Earth. And as you can see, I'm starting at about 11 o'clock, 11:01:40, and it's pointing towards the south. Here's the east, and let's play. It's playing at 60 times speed, so each minute only takes a second to watch, each hour only takes a minute to watch, and this is going to go for about an hour, so it'll only take you about a minute. So there's 15 degrees in an hour, and 60 minutes in an hour, so a third of an hour is 20 minutes and 5 degrees. So this is the 20-minute mark, the 40-minute mark, and the 60-minute mark. So I'll let it play. And as you know, the sun rises in the east, goes up and sets in the west, and like this is tracking the sun, you can see it's coming up in the east, going over and setting in the west. This should be our 40-minute mark here. I'll pause it again when we get there. Okay, right on the money. Let's keep playing. This is the 15-degree mark. This is 0 degrees, 5, 10, 15. And 1 hour should take us right here to the 15, but it's an old, worn-out gyroscope, and so it has a little bit of its own drift, which is offsetting this, but still it's very close. So you can see 12:01:40, whatever. It almost got us to the 15-degree mark. I'm going to play it and see what it takes to get it to the 15-degree mark. So yeah, it took an extra 5 minutes to get to the 15-degree mark. But still, that's very close for an old gyroscope. So it's definitely showing the rotation of the Earth to be about 15 degrees an hour. And if you would like to see how I set this up and how I did tests with a total of 3 gyroscopes, multiple tests, and they all confirm the same thing, go ahead and watch the video. But if that's too lengthy for you, now you've at least seen the Earth's rotation with a purely mechanical, air-driven gyroscope.
So there you have it now. That's 2 different gyroscopes. Both are able to measure the rotation of the Earth. Now, not a lot of flat earthers know this, but the gyroscope was actually invented to measure the rotation of the Earth and to prove that the Earth does rotate. And look at that, lo and behold, they work fairly well. And when used correctly, and you know how to measure, then you can see that the results are pretty definitive. But perhaps some flat earthers or some people have issues with using a gyroscope. Maybe they think there's some sort of bias or stuff. So let's take a little more simple. we use a very, 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 very long rope, a heavy weight on the end of it. And when stabilized, we're going to have some paper, and we'll watch this a pendulum, essentially. Well, it is a pendulum, with a little bit of a paintbrush on the end to cause as little friction as possible, but to make marks on some paper and watch and see the angles at which, if it does and changes. Now, the best way to do Foucault's pendulum, to make sure not to incorporate any kind of other motion, is that you pull the pendulum back as far as you can, you tie it with a rope, and you let it sit there and wait till all swing everything until it's completely steady and stabilized. So maybe leave it for half an hour, whatever time you can, but make sure until there's nothing in it. Then light the little piece of string or rope on fire, so that when it goes, it just burns, releases, and the pendulum can swing, and it's going to take off on a true and straight path. And this way, you don't have obscuring results in any sort of way. Now, some people don't realize how to do this, and they try to do Foucault's pendulum by just pulling it back or letting it go with their hand. But your friction, not letting go exactly precisely. One finger, maybe it's got a little bit of adhesion and stuff on your finger, a little bit of sweat and stuff, and you can incorporate a little bit of a fault to it. So that's why you don't do it that way. You hold it up, wait until it's all settled, and then let it go. So, YouTube channel called The Gentleman Physicist, he did this very such thing. He used a 6-story staircase, didn't have a full enough room to allow the pendulum to make a full rotation, but he could get where he has some variation in it, do a little bit of math, and he was able to get the results and showed his results. So using that, to Foucault's pendulum, he was able to, with the deviation that it had from the rotation of the Earth, he was able to derive his latitude and where he was. And his results were very, very accurate for how long he only had it swing for about 40 minutes or so. And just with that and deviation that he had, he was able to get fairly accurate results. There's obviously a margin of error. If you let it run longer, you would reduce the margin of error. But we're going to have a look anyways and see how he's what results he got. And this is all down to the rotation of the Earth. Let's have a look.
Today we get to play with Foucault's pendulum. When anyone asks me why I'd want to do this, I tell them, some men just want to watch the world turn.
Hello YouTube. Last week I asked you how you would figure out your distance from the North Pole if you were trapped inside and unable to see outside. Many of you came up with the idea of using Foucault's pendulum, which is exactly what I'm going to be using. For those of you unfamiliar with the concept, a Foucault pendulum is just a very long pendulum that's free to swing in any direction. You might be wondering what's so cool or interesting about something as mundane as a very long pendulum. Well, if you watch this pendulum swing long enough, you'll notice that the plane it's swinging in is actually rotating. To see this effect, you have to watch the pendulum for hours. You might even be tempted to dismiss this as some kind of mistake, some kind of experimental contamination. But no matter how carefully you isolate the system, the plane still rotates. So what's happening? Many of you may have guessed that it isn't the plane of the pendulum that's rotating, but the Earth. The pendulum is actually doing its best to just keep swinging back and forth in a fixed plane. This rotation of the pendulum's plane, or precession, is actually a prediction of Newtonian mechanics. Using Newton's laws and some vector calculus, you can actually show that the speed and direction of the pendulum's rotation depends only on your latitude. If we measure the time it takes the plane to rotate, we can calculate our latitude and then use that to find our distance from the North Pole. All you need is a watch and a pendulum. So now that we have a plan, let's go try some science. Here we are on UVic's campus, taking advantage of a 6-story stairwell to do Foucault's pendulum. Now, there isn't enough space between the stairs to do a full 360 degrees rotation, but we don't need it. We're just going to do 10 degrees, so about an hour's exposure, and use that to calculate our latitude. Like most things in physics, fire makes it more awesome.
I know watching a pendulum can be a bit boring, but do you know what makes it better? Pointlessly dramatic music! Given this latitude, we can find our distance to the North Pole using a little trigonometry and the radius of the Earth. For the latitude we measured, the North Pole should be 4,470 kilometers away. This is only 167 kilometers off the measured distance. I'm actually really surprised at how close we came to the actual value. Imagine how accurate we could be if we ran the pendulum for many hours straight. I hope you enjoyed watching a Foucault pendulum being used to calculate our latitude. Congratulations to the YouTube user Lou Grims for being the first person of several to guess right about my method. There were some other approaches that may have worked involving compasses, but would have been too technical for me to even try. If you're interested in the math used to sort this out, there's a great discussion on Wikipedia. Still, a proper understanding requires some knowledge of vector calculus. Hey, it's a perfect excuse to go out and learn it. So until next time, when in doubt, use science.
So there you have it. Just a fellow, some people in a staircase using just very basic equipment. He was able to use Foucault's pendulum to calculate and show his latitude as down to the rotation of the Earth. Now, I'll show you a little example here. This is sped up, obviously, because to have a pendulum do that full rotation, it's going to take a minimum 24 hours. If you're closer to the equator, it can take longer. The closer you are, the longer it takes for it to make that full rotation. They call it a pendulum day, and it's because it's where it has to go all the way around to complete a circuit, and that's down to the rotation of the Earth. The further you are away from the poles, then the Earth's rotation is imparting less force onto that pendulum, and so the deviation as it moves, as it's going to back and forth, eventually it's going to change its direction slightly. Now, to the pendulum, it's actually maintaining straight forward and back. Due to the fact is at the very top, it has a universal joint where you can go any way possible. Then what's happening is the Earth underneath the pendulum is actually moving. Now, you have a rotation here, but if you're on the side of a globe or a sphere, then that motion is going to be, as you go around to the side, and it's moving this way, you're going to have less and less and less imparted, in which eventually then you're going to have just on the side, it's just going to move slightly around, and that pendulum is swinging maybe that way, then it's not going to feel any other force to try to change it. And that's where you have on the equator, Foucault's pendulum don't really work all that well, if they work at all. But at the at the poles, they work absolutely the best. And there has been examples of a Foucault's pendulum in Antarctica, and using that, it showed a 24-hour clock. I'll show you one here. It's a university or a museum somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is, but this is an example of what you see. And these were from all over the world at different lines of latitude.
They contain physics concepts incomprehensible to Flerfs. Irrefutable proof of the Earth's rotation. A long heavy gyroscopic pendulum suspended from the high roof above a circular area is monitored over an extended period of time. Its plane of oscillation appears to change spontaneously as the Earth makes its 24-hour rotation. Foucault followed up in 1852 with a gyroscope experiment to further demonstrate the Earth's rotation. Foucault pendulums today are popular displays in science museums and universities.
Now, there is one more way in which we can observe or measure the rotation of the Earth. And it's a rather new way. And that way is geostationary satellites. Now, you have like ones like NOAA's GOES satellites. You have the Himari 8 and now the Himari 9, and they just upgraded it. And they will show the rotation of the geostationary satellites over a particular part. And you'll see is because you can see as the shadow of the Earth changes, they are stuck watching a particular time. They orbit around the same speed as the Earth's rotation. But there is another one, and it is further out than those two, and it's called the Discovery Epic satellite. And watching that, it takes a picture every 2 hours, I believe. You can go on the website and watch. It takes a picture every 2 hours. And so you end up getting 12 pictures. And you can watch the rotation of the Earth, and you can watch the cloud patterns change. I'm going to show you a bit of a time lapse here of one such observation, but you can more than welcome to go onto the internet, look up the Discovery Epic satellite, and you can watch images right from the last maybe 24 hours to 48 hours. And you can match up the cloud patterns and the weather patterns to if it's in the area you can see. And you can see that these are real images, they're real time, they're taken, and it shows the rotation of the Earth. Let's have a look and see.
All hail the ball, we tread with care. A sphere so vast, floating in air, with gravity's pull anchoring deep. Through heavens high, our course we keep. Oh, hail the ball, the curve is true. Horizons bending out of view. The stars they spin a tale divine. North and south their dance align. The rising.
So there you are, folks. There are several different examples showing the Earth's rotation. It can be observed and it can be measured. Maybe back in the day, I know something about flat earthers bring up Einstein saying there's no optical observation to show the rotation of the Earth. Einstein didn't know about geostationary satellites. He couldn't comprehend that. It was back in 1911. We're in the 21st century now, and we have such technology, and we can see this and observe this. And it's seen all the time, every single day. You can look up any of these satellites. They're free and available to look up, and you can see the images all you like. Now, Einstein said there's no optical observation to see the curvature, the rotation of the Earth. He never said we weren't able to measure the rotation of the Earth, because Foucault's pendulum and other devices were around, and he was fully aware of this, and Einstein knew that the rotation of the Earth did happen. The north and south star rotations going opposite ways is one example of the rotation of the Earth. Only possible on a spherical planet, and completely impossible on a flat pancake pizza, dirt pizza Earth with the salad bowl over top of it. You can spin the pizza or you can spin the bowl. Either way, the southern star rotations do not work. Even the equatorial star rotations, where it goes straight up and overhead and down again, do not work on a flat Earth, and only work on a globular spherical Earth. So there's a few different things there, as well as we are not designed to feel the rotation of the Earth. We don't have the organs for it. We're not sensitive enough. And also, we were born on a planet that is moving. We don't know it's not moving. This is normal for us. This is a baseline. So that being said, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the like button. Comment down below. And know that the Earth is a sphere. Never has been, never will be flat. And don't forget, people, stay curious. Thanks for watching. See ya.